Hey guys, everything under the sun here. This is an article from ZeroHedge.com. Global warming, fact or fiction? Dr. Tim Ball, how the world was deceived about global warming and climate change. Now, as a disclaimer, I will suggest that I wouldn't disagree necessarily with temperature predictions and such, although there are many that suggest that the temperatures are skewed upwards to match a particular expected outcome and to support global warming. But in general, I would suggest that it's likely not all man-made. We're not the sole problem for this. It's probably a natural cycle that the Lord is using. And but there are interesting articles like this one suggesting massive deception about global warming. And of course, they don't call it global warming anymore. They call it climate change. Current weather is normal. That is, it is well within the range of all previous weather and climate variations. There are no dramatic increases in temperature, precipitation, hurricanes, tornadoes, or any other severe weather, according to this guy. The climate is changing just as it always has and always will, and the rate of change is perfectly normal. Of course, that is not what the government, environmentalists, or media promote, and as a result, most of the public believe. The misconception is deliberate and central to the exploitation of global warming and climate change as a vehicle for a political agenda. And of course, it's a great political thing to be on side of. You can tax the folk more and more in the name of saving the planet. I think there's a lot of questions to be raised, and I think the public is generally ignorant of the real facts and the real history, and also ignorant that God is controlling this all, and that He built in some pretty good checks and balances into the world to even manage what destruction, what trouble we throw at the world to a large degree. One phenomenon that creates the illusion weather is abnormal is the attention given by the media. So when people say earthquakes are increasing, of course the excuse is always that, well, no, they aren't. We just have more sensors, and that's why we think we see an increase in earthquakes. This is sort of that same argument. The media is really playing it up, and so you see more of it on your evening news. We all experience being introduced to a person, then seeing them pop up every time we turn around. It's the same thing with cars. After you buy one, you see them everywhere. In both cases, they're always there, but not part of your awareness. Weather and climate events seem to occur every day, but it is because they became a media story. They always occurred. Now the story appears and is amplified by sensationalism of media with their extreme weather reports. Here's a cartoon. Then says that unusually cold and snowy winters are the result of climate change, that one guy says. Climate change has been going on for 4 billion years. Climate change is normal. Why can't we all agree on that much? Because there's no money in normal, it says. So, interesting, true statement. There's no money. There's more money in shock and awe reporting. The entire objective of those pursuing the political agenda was to create the illusion that the weather is abnormal and therefore unnatural. They wanted to show that all this occurred in the last 100 years as a result of human industrial activity, and that is definitely the part that I disagree with. The objective was to create false science, which was easy because few people know about weather and climate, a fact confirmed by a Yale University study that created a high school exam. Figure 1 shows the raw results with 52% getting an F and 25% getting a D for a total failure of 77%. Promoters of the false story also knew people know even less about climate. Indeed, most don't even know the difference between weather and climate. Weather is the atmospheric conditions you experience at any point in time. The climate is the average of those conditions in a region or over time. A few years ago, I wrote but didn't submit a story for the Globe Mail, which with the headline, "An area of Arctic ice twice the size of Vancouver Island melted today." The story then revealed that this was a normal amount of ice. Imagine my surprise when it recently it appeared in reality. The headline I tongue-in-cheek considered writing was in the national newspaper. Melting in Arctic region reached all-time high in June. Ice has been disappearing at a rate of 29,000 square miles a day. This is near the daily average rate of melt in the brief Arctic summer. But few people know this is naturally occurring thing. Approximately 10 million square kilometers of ice melts every summer in approximately 145 days, which is a melt rate of 68,000 kilometers per day, square kilometers. The amount mentioned is well within the wide variation in melt from year to year. Figure 2, looking at this here, provides a brief context to show the wider natural range of temperature over the last 10,000 years. It shows temperature of the northern hemisphere derived from Greenland ice cores. So apparently, the temperature is going down over the history there. So there you go. Here's some quick points here, and I'll end with this. The world was warmer than today. For 97% of the last 10,000 years, the world was warmer than today. So it's actually cooling off. The world was 2 degrees Celsius warmer than today 1,000 years ago during the medieval warming. Remember, you were told that the world is going to warm by 2 degrees, and that is catastrophic. Well, 1,000 years ago, it was that much warmer, and they didn't have any trouble. The world was 4 degrees warmer than it was today during the Minoan warming. We are told the amount and rate of temperature increase in the last 100 years is abnormal. Compare the slope with any of the previous increases. The green line indicates the larger trend that shows the Earth has cooled for approximately the last 7,000 years. Cooled. Now it's funny they mentioned 7,000 years. I believe the Earth is about 6,000 years. And if entropy is correct, and all things are cooling off, and all temperature across the universe is becoming stabilized or moving to a stable, whatever the stable temperature is, then that kind of makes sense that the Earth is cooling off, and the sun is burning off and is maybe less brilliant and hot than it used to be. Less need for the water canopy, which was there before there was flood, to protect from the sun's rays. And so that's interesting. So yeah, general timeline, over about 6,000 years, the Earth is cooling, and that does make a lot of sense. So this article has a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm going to link it. Have a read of it. It's really interesting stuff. So thanks, guys, for watching. God created the planet about 6,000 years ago, and climate change does not. Climate change may exist, but it's a natural phenomenon. It's not necessarily produced by and less likely to be real, substantially impacted by human activities on the Earth. And even if it was, I think that God created the Earth in such a fashion that there's checks and balances that would balance out whatever damage we did to it. Just one example before I quit here. If we produce more carbon than is good for the planet, carbon dioxide, obviously plants consume carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. So what would happen if we produce too much carbon dioxide? Well, the plants would grow like mad because there's all of a sudden a whole bunch of carbon dioxide for them to breathe in. And then once the plants grew like mad because of that, they would suck up all the carbon dioxide, and then we would have a world overbalanced with oxygen. And then there would be not enough carbon dioxide, so some of the plants would die off. And so it keeps in balance, carbon dioxide, oxygen. So no, I don't think there's a problem here, and I think God created the planet, and He knew all this was coming. He created checks and balances. God is awesome, and you need to get into creation and young Earth creation. God is way smarter than us. We are certainly not damaging it beyond repair, I don't believe. I think God knew what sorts of things we would do, and He made the planet in such a way that it would self-heal pretty much. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.